The tank has already begun. What is going on? It is Alex coming back at you with another video, and today I am taking a deep dive into the 2023 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We're going to be breaking down their roster as well as going into a records prediction for the year. If you guys are new, would love for you guys to stick around, like, comment, subscribe. Always love whenever you guys get to stick around. We actually started getting a little bit more growth, which is a blessing in the off season. So greatly appreciate y'all for being able to show that love and support, even though the series doesn't get very much love in the first place. But again, it's a way of informing yourselves, it's a way of informing myself, and making sure the content during the regular season is just that much better. There's a huge new edition coming in the next couple of weeks, and we'll see about that. But it's a big one. Obviously, I can't give you the specifics, but it might not be seen on this specific channel, but you'll see. Anyways, let's get right into the video. Let's have some fun here. Starting out with the offense, we're starting from the skill positions going to the line, and then going from the line to skill positions for the defense. Quarterback, you got Baker Mayfield there, Kyle Trask also in the mix. It's going to be a bit of a struggle for sure. Baker Mayfield is one of those guys who I had a lot of faith in. And, back in high school, if I put a headband on, have a different haircut, I'm sure I look a little bit closer to Baker Mayfield than maybe I would like to. But, guys, show some love. Baker has an incredible mentality. I think he just got a little bit ahead of himself with the fame and didn't continue putting in the work that was necessary. Also, having so many of those coaches just definitely it slows down, potentially derails the progression of a career. And I think we've seen that with Baker Mayfield. Running back Rachaad White's awesome. They got Chase Edmonds there as well. I do like it. I think that running back still could be improved upon. I know there's a lot of Rachaad White truthers out there, but, I still think there is room for growth. I like Rachaad White. I love ASU running backs. So, I'm totally perfectly fine if Rachaad White continues to evolve into a superstar. Looking at the receiving core, Mike Evans, Russell Gage, Chris Godwin, that's probably the strength of the team right there. They are absolutely awesome. You got just a really solid group of guys, especially when they stay healthy. And I think that's been the big issue is that not all of these guys are on the field at the same time all the time. A nice sneaky guy there is Trey Palmer, who was picked up in, I believe, the 4th or 5th round. And he ran 4.33, ended up having a career resurgence there at Nebraska. Love to see that from him, but overall, a very talented player nonetheless. Tight end, that's where I'm starting to get a little bit of an issue. That's Cade Otton. I don't think he's bad by any stretch. I like Cade Otton, but when he's your starting tight end, he obviously is in that bottom tier of starting tight ends in the NFL. Payne Durham is tight end number 3 on the team, but I think that he honestly is pretty damn solid. Could end up getting some starting reps there. Looking at the offensive line, you got Tristan Wirfs at left tackle, switching from right. So I'm excited to see how he's going to be able to handle that. But Tristan Wirfs, talent-wise, is one of the best in the NFL. You got Matt Filer there, just a consistent veteran at left guard. I don't think that necessarily I'm going to be giddy about it, but again, he's not a tomato can. Ryan Jensen's awesome too, just getting older, closer to retirement. Cody Mauch, new addition, 2nd round from this past draft. The line is looking pretty solid. Luka Decky is probably another guy who I have a bit of a question mark on in terms of starting at right tackle. We haven't seen that yet, but I'm excited to see what happens there. Overall, I think that this offense is not bad by any stretch, but you are heavily crippled by a quarterback that doesn't really have very much success anymore. And then, his most reliable target, the tight end, is going to be probably on the bottom half of the NFL, if not the bottom quarter, if not the bottom of the NFL in terms of starting caliber tight ends. So, and you don't even have a bona fide RB1. I know that pisses a lot of people off, but I need to see year-over-year production before I, crown someone like that. We see running backs come in, have a great year like Philip Lindsay all the time, and then phase out. I'm not saying it's what's going to happen to Rachaad White, but there certainly is the question marks in terms of consistency year over year because he hasn't had it yet. So forgive me for having a little bit of a pushback on the excitement, but I hope to God Rachaad White proves me wrong and he proves to be an amazing RB1. I think he's going to be great. I think Baker Mayfield is finally going to have some good reps with some very good players again. And, I'm just very excited to see if Tristan Wirfs is able to hold up at left tackle and how Luka Decky is going to do at right. Now, let's talk about the defense. This defense is honestly really good. I didn't even realize how good Ryan Neal was. We'll talk about him in a minute, but Looking at the nose tackle, Vita Vea, I mean, all roads lead to Vita. He's a freaking monster. He's a behemoth himself. Former first-round pick, Kalijah Cansey, the brand new addition from the first round. He's going to be an awesome pairing there because you got the run stuffing ability of Vita Vea, but you have the gap penetration in the pass rushing of Kalijah Cansey. I thought it was personally a bad selection at the time. I think he fits perfectly fine with this defense, but it felt more of like a win now move. And, I really didn't think that they did the right moves to be able to position themselves properly for the future. Regardless, he's a great player. I mean, I think it's a great fit on a defense. I just personally wouldn't be making my defense God tier when I'm trying to tank, because you'll see with the record, I think that defense is a little too good to allow a complete tank. Greg Gaines is a consistent D tackle there. Shaq Barrett earned his contract for a reason. Very, very good veteran there. Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, I have a lot of faith in him. I think he can take a big step up, but you do have guys like Yaya Diaby that you just drafted. Jose Ramirez. I really liked Jose Ramirez, so definitely could be seeing him get some meaningful snaps in there. Linebacker-wise, God tier. Devin White, Levante David. Devin White has his lows. But, the fact is he's continuing. I believe he's going to have a positive projection on his career. And then you got Levante David there as well. Forgot to talk about Logan Hall being behind Kalijah, former second-round pick from just over a year ago as well. I was notoriously much against that pick. So, I'm not going to be like, oh, I told you so, because, who gives a rat's ass who's right and who's wrong in the long run. I hope to God that he ends up stepping up and proving me wrong. But right now, with the fact that they just put a first-round quality pick in at the end, a little bit worried about the future of Logan Hall. Then you look at these safeties there. Ryan Neal honestly had an incredible year last year. If you're looking at his coverage ability, I think he had something like 6 pass breakups, 2 interceptions, and like a touchdown. Great for him. Honestly, somebody who, it's when you watch 32 teams, you're just not naturally going to know every single player down to the core. And he was one of those players who slipped by. I was going to put him as part of one of the worst units. And I was like, let's do some research on the guy because I don't fully understand it. He did a great job. So honestly, I feel a lot better about it. I moved the grade from a B+ to an A- because of that. Antoine Winfield Jr., I love him to death. D. Delaney, he doesn't have that many snaps on his career, and he obviously is the weak point of a very, very good defense. You got Carlton Davis, excuse me. And, obviously he's deserving of his contract. Same thing with Jamel Dean. Very, very good players. I think overall this defense is very solid. And that's why I didn't like the Kalijah pick, is because this defense is already really good and you're not really building the tools for success in the long run on the offensive side. And that's why you're having your best offensive player move sides on the offensive line. It definitely scares me a little bit. But overall, again, a very solid team, which leads me to give them a 3-14 record. Everybody's saying this is going to be the worst team in the NFL, and maybe this is a record that's very representative of it. But I have 2 teams, actually I have 3 teams technically, that are worse. And we'll go through the records right now. Minnesota's a very, very good team. It's also early on. When you have these new quarterbacks, it's very tough to hit the ground running. But I think Chicago is still in that growth phase. This defense is too damn good. And I think Chicago will build up momentum as the season goes on. Philadelphia is Philadelphia. You go to New Orleans, that's always going to be a tough matchup. They seem to have the number of the Buccaneers recently as well. But I actually have us winning later in the year because of the fact that I think that, going from a dome to this type of stadium, it's just a different environment. And again, I think this team is very, very good. It's just, it has key foundational flaws. Detroit is a very talented team. Same thing with Atlanta. I do think that you have a chance to win one of those games, if not both. Is one of those teams that I could totally see winning 7 games, 8 games out of nowhere and being like, oh, Baker's back. But it's because of the fact that the defense makes a lot of great opportunities for him. Houston as well. I think that's a game they could totally win. Tampa Bay is not nearly as bad as what people think. And the record doesn't say it. The record doesn't reflect it. But this record could easily be, again, a 7-8 win team. So, you just got to make a gut decision. And unfortunately, my gut said to go elsewhere a couple of times because I don't believe in Baker, which really hurts me. But I think that he could make a comeback. And if he does, I'm going to be so happy for y'all and very happy for him. You got Tennessee there. I think that they're going to be potentially in a quarterback transition at that point. San Francisco, it's a toughie. San Francisco's tough to gauge as well. I think at that point, Brock Purdy will be back. Some people say it'll be week 2, but he'll be ready by week 1, which means he'll probably start week 2. Um, I'm a little bit more pessimistic on that. I think I have him coming back on week 10, so he'll be coming off that bye week, if I'm not mistaken, going right there into San Francisco. Indianapolis Colts, I have a lot of faith in them more than most other people, which is why a lot of records seem a little bit worse for other teams than maybe other guys like Broshmo when he comes out with his series, because of the fact that honestly I have full faith in Indianapolis to be able to compete. Just put up that video as well. Carolina, I'll talk about them tomorrow, and same thing with Atlanta, but both those teams have a lot of talent in this division. I could honestly see them going from 3 teams out, or almost 4 teams out, to having 3 teams in the playoffs. Green Bay is a good team, man. It's a good team. You're going, of course, to a different biome regardless. I think they could win. But it's one of those teams, just like this one, I kind of wanted to try to force some wins. But when you force wins for one team, you force losses for another. It's very difficult because a lot of teams are getting a lot better. You got Jacksonville in there. That's a very good team. I had them going 13-4. One of those teams that I do believe to take the leap. Then you got New Orleans, again, already discussed that, and then ending off at Carolina. So overall, I don't even have this team in the top 3 on the top 3 picks, which a lot of people say they're a lock 1 or 2. I don't believe that. I think this team is probably the 4th worst in the NFL, but that's because of the fact that the issues are at positions of high value. So that's going to be the video, guys. I hope you guys did enjoy. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you on the far side.